This one for my youngins, feeling life's no hope. Many struggles day to day, man. Life's no joke. I know how you feel. On the real, I was there. Problems pack my brain like the town's county fair. Try to mask this pain like a phantom on a tear. If I died today, would anybody care? The answer is yeah. Glance at that glare, that's Christ right beside you. Have no fear, you are loved by God. No facade, no it's hard. Be strong, lean on him when it falls like cards. I know daddy left, but it's all good to the gravy. Beans call me leftovers cause Christ saved me. I mean died cause he loved you. Took the ride cause he loved you. Took the cat of nines many times cause he loved you. Come and let him love you. G's need hugs too. No matter GD's, Crips or Bloods too. BL's, BD's, foes and moles. What up, shot down? God still love you. Every street, every hood, boulevard, cul-de-sac. What's the fact is to make America great again. You gotta bring God back. I'm praying for my city, but I'm praying for your hood too. Every city, every town, every block he love too. Christ came to love you. You were born great, don't shine like the star you are. Satan gon' hate, but it's time for you to shine. You was made in God's image. Hear me, with him there's no limit. Hear me, a life ain't a life without Christ who live in me. What's up, little mama? I see the drama on your face. Life's a category 5, the tide rise with no escape. Bills past due, but the kids gotta eat. Money low, make a choice from clothes and shoes for the feet. Can't get both. Oh, here we go. Can't catch a break out here hanging by a rope. While you hanging, look up, baby. Christ got his hand out. God never leaves off a safe. Tell Satan stand down. Man down, let Jah pick you up like a bus. Keep your faith off a man. It's in him you should trust. Yeah, that ace makes waste. Good riddance to bad rubbish. No need to spaz and puppet. Proceed, grab and clutch it. OD, Messiah's love is deep drug. I need to love it. Hosanna in the highest. Cling to Christ, let him guide you. Let him be the soundtrack of life that you ride to. Keep a smile on your face. Couldn't live without his grace. I'm praying for my city, but I'm praying for your hood too. Every city, every town, every block he loved too. Christ came to love you. You were born great. Don't shine like the star you are. Satan gon' hate, but it's time for you to shine. You was made in God's image. Hear me, with him there's no limit. Hear me, a life ain't a life without Christ who live in me.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Happy Hour. Pastor Jack. That's right. On Saturday morning at 9 o'clock. Here we are with Pastor Jack. Thank you.
What it is? What's up? It's Pastor Jack. I don't know if you heard me the first go around, so I'm gonna say it again. I think we need to lock this Saturday piece in, man. I'm feeling it. What do you think, Sam? I'm feeling it.
I'm feeling it, man. Live at the breakfast table.
Yeah. Live at the breakfast table. You know what? Who is it who does the Breakfast Club? Isn't it, who's that? Charlemagne and others?
Charlemagne. They have the Breakfast Club. That's the Breakfast Club. This would be live at the breakfast table with Pastor Jan.
Oh, what's going to be on the table? But now, listen, check this out. Last night I had a great time. My cousin turned 50. Now, she and and her sister kind of became like my second aunt. So having an opportunity to celebrate her was cool. Shout out to Francine. Happy 50th, man. You know how they used to say 50 is the new 30 or something like that?
Yeah.
Well, no, 30 is the new 30. And so I'm going to just go ahead and take a stab at it and say 50 is the new 50. But what I mean is, like, you can do new things. You don't have to typecast yourself at 50. I would be honest with you, man. I went in there thinking that we weren't going to turn up. We weren't going to have fun for real. we left out of there, and let's just say some people had a really good time last night. A very good time last night. So big shout out to Francine. Shout out to Nicole LaRue. Nicole LaRue made this cake yesterday that I've never had Nicole's cake. Her business is Nikki Cakes. I think of Diva Cakes. I'm sorry, Diva Cakes. Look for her on social media. Diva Cakes. She did an amazing job with this cake last night. They had lights and cameras and all this kind of stuff going on with it. So shout out to Diva Cakes. I'll post her Facebook page in the comments below for you to have it. I also want to do a quick shout out. We're celebrating 4 years on December the 21st with Positive Power. Positive Power 21 Radio will be celebrating 4 years this December 21st. Now, my birthday is Christmas Eve. Hint, hint, hint. Anybody want to send me something? My birthday is Christmas Eve, but 3 days prior to that, Positive Power will be celebrating 4 years of podcasting. So shout out there. Do we got any bells? Where the hand claps at for that? Where Yeah, so that's big up. In other news, Trump is still in the White House. What's the boy's name? Roy Moore will probably be the newest elected senator out of Alabama. Al Franken was forced to resign. John Conyers has resigned from his positions. There's a lot going on. So, Sam, take it from here, man. What's going on in the news?
You pretty much covered it. We've got Senator Franken and Representative Congressman John Conyers resigning amidst the alleged, or shall I say, the allegations of sexual misconduct. It's ironic you preface that with saying Trump is still in the White House and Roy Moore will probably be elected. How it's almost as if you have this blatant, very apparent double standard in our government, because you have someone who is on tape, recorded, saying to have groped and fondled, unwelcomed certain female, associates, and then you have a person that has been allegedly molesting young ladies for decades, and he is about to be elected senator. Yet you have two persons who had to resign amidst the same allegations. So, yeah, it's a new reality. I wish I could tell you what it means, what it leads to. We're going to have to get one of our PhDs on here to really talk about this for us, man, because it's real.
We almost had your favorite guest on tonight, Dr. Zatarvia Parrish from Livingstone College, and Dr. Herschel Proctor Walden from Claflin Universities, respectively. And on discussing this, I was most interested, Sam, in Gabrielle Union's most recent piece that she spoke as she was dealing with the book that she wrote. I think it's entitled, and I hate to misquote it, we're going to need more coffee, or we're going to need more wine or something. Let me look it up. But she, in her piece, she writes about how she too is a victim of rape. But she says that in this conversation, it has become whitewashed, in that white women have taken this mantra and have run with it. But she said the truth of the matter is, there are some African-American women who need to come up to the table as well and begin to have the conversation. But the double standard is much more egregious for an African-American woman. It's much more dire and serious, because you already are stained with being hypersexual. And so African-American women have been seen for the duration of our tenure here in America as hypersexual, and therefore deserving. In other words, please don't tweet me and Facebook me saying that I am saying this. This is what America believes, that black women are already hypersexual, and we display this hypersexuality in videos as vixens and, with all this enhancements, etc. And therefore we these women are not being raped, but rather they're throwing themselves at the men that would assail them in that way. So I think Gabrielle Union makes a good point, and I think that because there are many women out in the world who are victims of sexual assault and who have yet to speak out of it. And there's some, I'm just sitting here thinking right now of people who, in my own family, who have confided in me, and I'm sitting there thinking, well, why you ain't say nothing? Well, because I was in, in the da-da-da-da. And so you got to kind of encourage people and pray for them to come to the front because there are women who need your voice to be healed. So what else is going on? Well, I said Trump is in the White House. Is that change? Is that going to change? Is Jared Kushner going to jail? Questions we all want to know.
Well, we don't know the answer to that. It's still, no one really knows exactly what's to become of this. You still got, persons on the docket on deck to testify or be subpoenaed. I'm just going to be honest with you. I hadn't really been following it just because I've been so outraged the past few days of the case with Michael Slager, the officer in the Walter Scott case, who gunned down in 2015 an unknown man named Walter Scott in North Charleston, South Carolina. And he is shown on video of someone shot him while Walter Scott was running away from him unarmed with his hands up. He then proceeds to go up beside the lifeless body of Walter Scott and attempt to plant some evidence. And he was just convicted and sentenced today, or not today, but this week, to 20 years in prison for the shooting of an unarmed black man. And I just think that it's nothing new under the sun, but I don't want to let this go by and us not take notice, because I think it's a dangerous thing when we, and I don't mean just black people, but just American citizens become desensitized to this type of brutality on behalf of persons who are supposed to be serving and protecting us. It's just crazy to me. Yeah,
it's unbelievable. So you have these officers here in Baltimore being all but given a slap on the wrist. You have my friend, my sister. I pray for her. My heart bleeds for her, Marilyn Mosby, who is running and doing the best she can to speak truth to power. And so, there's an attack against not only the Democratic community, but the black community, and it's always been that way. And we've got to continue as we have been. Anything else going on?
Yeah, so the Trump administration in international politics, or international news, announced this week that they will be moving the United States Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem.
Oh, right.
Yes, and so that, of course, brings about an outrage on behalf of the Palestinian citizenship there. And it was just not really a wise move at this point to do that. It's just indicative of he's just doing things just to make headlines, just to divert our attention, it seems, from the whole Russia situation.
Wow. I miss my girls, man. Danny G, Evity C, Deanna. We miss y'all, man. I'm gonna shout out the girls here on the thing, so y'all can know. Follow the girls, man. Follow the girls. They got more going on than we do. So I'm gonna post them up here too. Evity, Danny G, Yana Nee. So yeah, Sam. I can't wait for Christmas, man.
What you got planned, brother?
Nothing, man. Nothing. What I got planned is couch surfing. So I'm going to sit down and watch something. And I don't want to do nothing, man. I don't want to do nothing. For real. So the kids are probably going out of town. Danielle is away and will be away for some time. So they're going out of town maybe the 26th through the 29th. And that'll allow me an opportunity to really just sit down and relax and, you know, all of that. So,
yeah.
Get some papers graded.
Oh, you still got a grade over the holiday.
Yeah. So after the break, Pastor Jack got to work for you. Then we're gonna go because it's Saturday morning, and I got things to do, man. So we'll see you after this short break. God bless you.
You are listening to Jerry Royce Live Worldwide Podcast.
Hustler. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. Hustler. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. First things first, I want all the above. I can't believe it daily. He gives me all of the love, the way it is in most cases. Now we need to repent. Compassion develops and grows when it's heaven sent. I'm going to speak on him. Now I hope you can hear it. I walk with him, talk with him. Now we met in the spirit. I shook his hand and he said, "This the way to be a man." It's undefeated death. I left footprints in the sand. Watch me as smoke clears. Now created in piles. Eternal life to live and die, and still crack a smile. The promise there for me and you. Now we living for. I got bad news for the enemy. Stomp his head through the floor. Left behind, homie. Never attempt vacation. Heaven's movie thugs mansion. Holding your salvation. Permanently stretched out now for you and me. Prayers from like rivers moving down blocks endlessly. I pray for everybody, hoping to hear that voice now. The one that paralyzes you from here down, boy. I pray for everybody. Hustlers need prayer too. I pray for everybody. Hustlers need prayer too. I pray for everybody, hoping to hear that voice now. The one that paralyzes you from here down, boy. I pray for everybody. Hustlers need prayer too. I pray for everybody. Hustlers need prayer too. It's better on the other side, watching thugs cry. He has lovers who walk in it, as it never dies. It was written in the word once bled, like you and me, disciples and sheep creep to his voice constantly. John 10 never reigns with pain on a name, not a respect of persons. For you, he do the same. His arm wide open, spread deep like your block. This prayers covers you, the meaning bullets to a Glock. One blood, one flesh, together teaching me. A broken covenant without Jesus, married to the street. Walk by faith to the altar, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Anointed to hear his voice, can't be now the greatest gift. You could ask for it now. John 16:23. Catch it every last church, blessing your family. Proud liquor turn to be blessed, then place it on you. When blunts with aroma can awake you from a coma now. I pray for everybody, hoping to hear that voice now. The one that paralyzes you from here down, boy. I pray for everybody. Hustlers need prayer too. I pray for everybody. Hustlers need prayer too. I pray for everybody, hoping to hear that voice now. The one that paralyzes you from here down, boy. I pray for everybody. Hustlers need prayer too. I pray for everybody. Hustlers need prayer too. 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 A man born anything is what some say. For he know the plans that won't change every day. Predestined for many lessons for your block to prosper. 29 chapter 11 verse. Ready to lock your crave before you was born. Now he sets you apart. I seen a man cry even after God's own heart. Until a man dies, he holds pride and righteousness. You can't talk to police where you permanently rest. Many chosen to represent now what they holding. They keep the truth smoking, ain't no joking. With your mouth swollen, argue murder. If you searching for what is heard, bury your flesh, don't test. Now one is it was the word drive by and buy down. Look at me, throw my hands up high. New creations died and came back, and don't ask why. Bring them out, no doubt. I got to bring them, make their money, get clout now. Sow it in the kingdom. I pray for everybody, hoping to hear that voice now. The one that paralyzes you from here down, boy. I pray for everybody. Hustlers need prayer too. I pray for everybody. Hustlers need prayer too. I pray for everybody, hoping to hear that voice now. The one that paralyzes you from here down, boy. I pray for everybody. Hustlers need prayer too. I pray for everybody. Hustlers need prayer too. Hustlers need prayer too. I pray for everybody. Hustlers need prayer too. Hustler. Hustler. Hustlers need prayer too. I pray for everybody. Hustlers need prayer too.
You're listening to Buzz of Power 21, Christian media on Late Night Radio.
Daniel, the 3rd chapter, verse 19 through 30. And then Nebuchadnezzar was filled with rage against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that his face was distorted. He ordered the furnace heated up 7 times more than was customary, and ordered some of the strongest guards in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, to throw them into the furnace of blazing fire. So the men were bound, still wearing their tunics, their trousers, their hats, and their other garments, and they were thrown into the furnace of blazing fire. Because the king's command was urgent and the furnace was so overheated, the raging flames killed the men who lifted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But the 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound into the furnace of blazing fire. Then King Nebuchadnezzar was astonished and rose up quickly. He said to his counselors, "Was it not 3 men that we threw bound into the fire?" They answered King, "True, O king," he replied, "but I see 4, unbound, walking in the middle of the fire, and they are not hurt. And the 4th has the appearance of the Son of God." And Nebuchadnezzar then approached the door of the furnace of blazing fire and said, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out and come here." So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out of the fire, and the satraps, the prefects, the governors, and the king's counselors gathered together and saw that the fire had not had any power over the bodies of those men. The hair of their heads was not singed. The tunics were not harmed, and not even the smell of fire came from them. Nebuchadnezzar said, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him. They disobeyed the king's command and yielded up their bodies rather than serve and worship any god except their own God. Therefore, I make a decree, any people, nation, or language that utters blasphemy against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be torn limb from limb and their houses laid to ruin. For there is no God who is able to deliver in this way." Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. I want to talk real quick with the thought, a furnace kind of faith. Helen Keller said, "Character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experience of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened, vision cleared, ambition inspired, and success achieved." It was Leonardo da Vinci who said, "The depth of strength of a human character are defined by its moral reserves. People reveal themselves completely only when they are thrown out of the customary conditions of their life. For only then do they have to fall back on their reserves." Their strength was revealed in the furnace. They relied on what they knew to get them through it, and that was praise. The boy believes, like Dr. Martin Luther King, change does not roll in on the wheels of inevitability, but comes through the continuous struggle. And so we must straighten our backs, Dr. King says, and work for our freedom. A man cannot right us, he says, unless our backs are bent. I don't know who I'm dealing with this morning, but somebody's listening, wrestling with something, trying to figure out, how did I get into this? You ought to remember that a man can't ride you lest your back is bent. A man can't burn you lest you succumb to the fire that you're in. They refuse to worship another God. Whatever you're dealing with this morning, refuse to go back to the things that seem normal. Go back to the things that seems like it's the only way to get through it. God will pull you through. It was worth the struggle. They had to have been scared of Nebuchadnezzar. I mean, I would have been. They were neither superstitious nor were they fanatical. Their arrogance, watch this, relied on their faith in God. they were okay with the outcome, even unto death. They would rather burn, watch this, than bow. I'm going to say that again. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego was willing to burn up than to bow down. Some of you got to be willing to be set on fire by God, but for the devil makes you bow down to any of his golden images. There are three things about this text that I stole that I want to share with you. The first thing that I stole comes from verse 21. I believe God in verse 21 is saying, don't resist. These men were bound and thrown into the furnace. The Bible does not say they tried to fight it. They were confident enough in their God that they knew whatever the outcome, God would get the glory. They didn't fight what they were going. They wasn't complaining about it. The Bible didn't say the three boys were screaming and crying and whistling and wailing. No, it simply said they were bound and thrown, and they were bound wearing what they were wearing. They didn't change clothes. They didn't try to change who they were, their appearance. They went into the furnace just the way they are. That's enough for me. Always trying to change faith and always trying to look good in the midst of a bad situation. God is saying, keep on what you got on. You're good clothes, but you're going in the fire. So don't resist the struggle you're in. God put you there. Number two, real quick, don't retreat. The Bible says in verse 24 and 25, weren't there three men? He goes on to say, look, I see four walking around in the fire, unbound and unharmed. First, the flames killed the king's men. Watch this. Then they are no longer bound or tied up. And then there's now this other guy on the scene. A lot just happened in the text. First, the same fires that were intended to kill you started to kill the enemy. That's good. And then the same fires that was intended to kill you and burn you up, all it did was burn the ropes off. And then all of a sudden, this mystery man shows up at the most unlikely time, in the most unlikely places for you to do the most unlikely thing. The Bible says that they made it into the furnace, they fell into the furnace, but then moments later, there was a fourth man in the middle of the fire. Now, you do know this, that the center of any fire is the hottest point. When refiners of gold and silver make both gold and silver, they put the metal in the center of the fire in order for it to burn off any perfection. And so while it is that the king thought he was killing Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, God was in the midst of the furnace burning off any imperfection so that when they came out, like the Bible says in the end, there was not even a smell of smoke, the hint or the singe on their clothes to suggest what they've been through. Don't you know that God has a way to pull you through a mess and not even make you look like or smell like what you've been through? That's when somebody can say, I don't even believe that you've been through all that. How did you make it through this and that and still not lose your mind? Because what you've been through would have killed somebody else, and it did if you read this text. Finally, let me get out of here. Don't relive it. Don't relive it. The Bible says in verse 27, then the three boys came out of the fire. Everybody saw that the fire had not harmed their bodies, nor was the hair on their heads singed. Their robes were not scorched, and there was no smell of fire on them. Their bodies were not harmed. Their hair was not singed, and their robes were not scorched. There was no smell of fire on them. I, as a preacher, got a problem with this. The Bible says their bodies were not harmed in a furnace that was 7 times the normal limit. Their hair didn't even smell like smoke. Their robes had not even been, but they were dancing in the middle of the fire. There's somebody right now dancing in the middle of your situation. You right in the middle of a bad situation, and you still got enough sense, foolish enough, to find yourself dancing. And I don't know who you're dancing with, but the Bible says that if you choose Jesus as a dance partner, when you come out, persons will say, send me in that fire if Jesus is the one who brought you through it. I don't know who we're talking to this morning, but I came to tell somebody on a Saturday morning while it's snowing that wherever you find yourself, whether in a hot situation or in a dismal place, God is willing. He's waiting and he's wanting to share the load with you. Will you let him? God bless you. You've been on with Pastor Jack. I'll see you again next week.
All right, family. What a powerful message. Pastor Jack and Sam Brown right here on Positive Power XXi. We'll be celebrating 4 years of podcasting. 4 years, did you hear me? 4 years of podcasting on December 21st. That's right, 2017. And speaking of the middle of it, you'll be listening to that tune by Ree in the middle of it, sold on Amazon. And again, thank you for tuning in at 9 o'clock. Sorry we weren't on Facebook. Unfortunately, we're back in jail. But we got to work that out. All right, everybody, you have a blessed weekend. And we see you guys on Monday. Don't forget, we're 24-hour international podcast. So come on out to Spreaker Radio. That's right, come on out to my website. My website is positivepower21.org and Spreaker Radio. All on our Facebook page. Enjoy your weekend. I'm Jerry Woods Live. I'm worldwide on Positive Power XXi.
You are listening to Jerry Royce Live, Worldwide Podcast.
Turn Never left me right in the middle of it. There I felt you right in the middle of it. Changed my story right in the middle of it. You were there right in the middle of it. Giving me love right in the middle of it. Giving me peace right in the middle of it. Giving me joy right in the middle of it. Never give up on me in the middle of it. Never left me lonely in the middle of it. You were there to hold me in the middle of it. Lord, you blessed me in the middle of it. Came to save me right in the middle of it. Made me whole right in the middle of it. Let me know right in the middle of it. You had control right in the middle of it. Flipped my life right in the middle of it. Healed and delivered right in the middle of it. Changed my heart right in the middle of it. Changed my mind right in the middle of it. Saved my family in the middle of it. Saved my marriage in the middle of it. And kept my children in the middle of it. Spoke a word of life in the middle of it. 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 Spoke a word of life in the middle of it.
You're listening to Positive Power 21, Christian media on late night radio.